Why is it that across the vast expanse of human history, in every land, tribe, and tongue, we find gods, many gods, shaping stories, guiding laws, and haunting dreams? How can all these deities exist at once, yet each religion claims only one truth? If there is truly one divine source, why didn't it speak in one voice? Why not reveal itself the same way to everyone? If one God created the universe, shouldn't that God's signature be everywhere, unmistakable, identical regardless of language or culture? Instead, we find gods of thunder, gods of the sun, gods of war, gods of love pantheons scattered like stardust across every forgotten village and empire. Which god spoke first? And who decided which god was real? Was it truth or the sword that made one name rise and another name disappear? When we call one God the truth, are we calling the others lies? Or are we simply declaring that the God we were taught is the God we must defend? A Hindu child learns of Vishnu's avatars. A Muslim child recites the Shahada. A Christian child kneels at the foot of a cross. Each child believes. Each parent swears they found the way. But how can all paths lead to truth when they contradict each other? If truth is singular, why is belief so scattered? Why does geography predict faith more than revelation? Why are gods inherited like last names, not discovered like universal laws? If God is love, then why is God territorial, only appearing in holy books that divide rather than unify? Why would a divine being choose exclusive prophets, languages, and scriptures that fracture humanity into rival tribes? Could it be that truth, as religion defines it, is shaped more by culture than by the divine? Why does each god speak the native tongue of its followers? Why do holy scriptures align with the social norms of the era in which they were written? Why are divine messages always strangely silent about discoveries that come centuries later? Why is modern science absent from ancient holy writ? If only one God is real, why didn't that God appear to all people, in all lands, at once, unmistakably and clearly? Why would a loving deity rely on books, visions, or chosen men instead of direct, timeless communication? Why entrust eternal truth to paper, politics, and interpretation? Why leave truth vulnerable to human corruption, mistranslation, and control? Do we really worship the divine or the stories handed to us by others? If truth is eternal, why does it come with so many footnotes, doctrines, denominations, and debates? Why has faith become a battlefield of brands, each declaring ownership of salvation? Why do some gods demand blood, others demand submission, and still others offer enlightenment or cycles of rebirth? If all gods cannot be true, then which one is? And on what grounds? Faith, experience, an ancient book? But what makes one sacred text more valid than another? The Bible, the Quran, the Vedas, the Tao Te Ching. Are we really prepared to say only one holds truth while the others are delusions? And if so, who decides which book lives and which is burned? Why do civilizations rise and fall on the back of gods they now call mythology? Are today's truths tomorrow's fables? Was Zeus less real to the Greeks than Yahweh is to believers now? When the Norse prayed to Odin, did they feel less divine presence than the devout do today? Or does belief make gods real for a time until another truth replaces them? If truth is universal, why is it so divided by time? Why do old gods die when empires fall? Why does truth shift with conquest? When missionaries preach salvation, are they spreading light or rewriting history? How many gods have been erased by the sword, the cross, or the flag? If your God had been born in a land of another faith, would you still call him the only one? Do we question the gods we inherit? Or do we protect them like family secrets? Is belief passed down, not discovered? If everyone's God is the true God, then whose God survives? Only the one whose followers won the wars. Why does truth seem to follow power, not purity? Why are the gods of the oppressed often labeled as demons or myths? What if every god was created in the image of man, not the other way around? What if we shaped heaven to mirror our fears and desires, our laws and hierarchies? What if the many gods throughout time reveal not the presence of one truth, but the longing for it? A longing so desperate we filled the silence with voices, divine voices that sounded suspiciously like our own? If God is beyond understanding, why are we so sure of His name, His rules, His will? If the divine transcends culture, why do we limit it to temples, traditions, and titles? Why are we more loyal to our doctrines than to the mystery that lies beyond them? Why does questioning feel like betrayal, even when it seeks only honesty? If truth is so fragile it cannot survive doubt, is it truly truth? Or is it doctrine disguised as certainty? Why are questions discouraged in places of worship? Why do doubt and faith wage war within the same soul? Is faith still sacred if it cannot withstand interrogation? Must we silence reason to preserve belief? Why do we cling so tightly to the idea that our God is not only true, but the only one? Is it fear, comfort, identity? If the God of your neighbor contradicts your God, is he mistaken or just born elsewhere? Why are billions of people expected to abandon the gods of their ancestors, to bow instead to foreign names they did not choose? Can a God be just yet condemn someone simply for being born into the wrong religion? Would a loving creator send someone to eternal punishment for never hearing the right truth? Why must salvation be gated behind geography, history, or access to scripture? Why not make truth unmistakable for all, regardless of birth? If one truth exists, why not tattoo it across the sky in every language? Why rely on faith when clarity is kinder? Why make belief the bridge to heaven when belief is so often shaped by accident of birth? Would a God who loves all hide truth from most? Why are people killed in the name of truth? Why do gods demand sacrifice, war, or domination in their name? Why has religion been used to justify slavery, genocide, and oppression, always claiming divine approval? If there is one true God, why is that God invoked on both sides of every holy war? Are we drawn to one truth, or are we afraid of many? Does a single truth simplify our chaos, giving structure to the unknown? Are we terrified that admitting many gods or no gods means we are alone? Is the claim of one truth a defense against meaninglessness? What if there is no final truth, only fragments we mistake for completion? What if gods are windows, not walls, each reflecting part of the divine, but none containing it all? What if every religion is both wrong and right, sacred and flawed, divine and human? If your God is love, does that love include those who worship differently? If your truth brings peace, why does it divide? If your path leads to heaven, why does it walk over the faith of others? Why do we step on other gods to lift ours up? Why does every religion claim divine origin, yet everyone tells a different story? Why do revelations contradict each other, sacred laws clash, and prophets disagree? If they all came from the same source, why so many versions? Is the divine voice fragmented, or are we just listening with different ears? Why is spiritual experience universal, yet religious interpretation tribal? Why do people from every faith report the same feelings, peace, awe, transcendence, but assign them to different deities? Could it be that the feeling is real, but the story we attach to it is chosen? If we were born in another country, to another family, speaking another language, would we worship another God? Would we believe our truth then was the only one? And if so, what does that say about the truth we now hold so dear? Why do we fear being wrong more than we desire understanding? Why do we guard our God like territory, unwilling to consider others might see a different piece of the same whole? Why do we whisper prayers into silence and call the silence agreement? If your truth is eternal, why does it change with translations? Why does the same verse mean one thing to one sect and the opposite to another? Why do denominations multiply while claiming unity? Why do we build religions like towers, reaching for heaven but divided by language? If God made us all, why divide us with religion? If one creator exists, Why birth billions of people into falsehood, just to demand they find the one truth before death? Why not place the truth inside us, not in a book, not in a church, but in the very breath we all share? Is it possible that we have confused faith with certainty, and certainty with truth? That the louder we shout our truth, the less we believe it deep down? That doubt is not the enemy of faith, but the beginning of something purer? When we say there is only one truth, do we mean our truth, our God, our scripture? And what if someone else, just as sincere, says the same about theirs? Can two opposing truths both be right? Or are we all just clinging to stories we inherited? What do we fear more? Being wrong about our God, or realizing that the divine cannot be owned, named, or boxed into a single doctrine? What if the truth is too big for one religion to hold? Too mysterious to fit in one book? Too sacred to be claimed? If there is one true God, let that God speak clearly to all, not through flames or whispers or prophets long dead, but through undeniable, universal clarity. Until then, we wander one species, many gods, and a single question that echoes through every temple and tomb. Why are there so many gods, but only one truth?